They then got in contact with Decran Yakinian, Toy's last known solicitor, who stated to police that he had not spoken with Toy in some months and no longer had his contact details. Yakinian was going to try and get his details from a friend of Toy who still was in contact with Yakinian. From this date, I've been unable to get in contact with Yakinian. The mobile telephone rings out and there's no message service. On Monday the 30th of August, I spoke with a source who stated that Toy was now friends with Tony K and would not be attending court even if he was issued with a subpoena. The source stated that Toy would rather be charged and sent to jail himself before attending to give evidence as a witness. Inquiries relating to the medical records and tax records have both been made and neither assisted in locating Stephen Toy. He disappeared. Police couldn't find Stephen. Fun fact, Toy's last known solicitor, Decran Yakinian, the one that police also couldn't contact, he had a professional misconduct finding held against him in 2019 for various reasons, including misleading a court. And the same day this statement is made by the police, the charges against Andy Nahas are dismissed. I believe it's the same for his co-accused. But it gets better for Andy and co, as not only are the charges dropped, the Department of Public Prosecutions pays for their legal costs. Andy gets over $30,000. Oh, but Andy was lucky already because according to documents viewed by Friendly Geordies, Nahas Constructions, the firm run by his family, was already paying his legal costs. That might explain why they were using Doyle's construction lawyers in a serious criminal matter. What a story as it is. An alleged violent kidnapping, police raids, phone taps, a witness seemingly disappearing. It's like the end of season 1 of The Wire. But to get to the real heart of this story, you have to see what the accused got up to in the 12 years following this ordeal. Tony K, up until recently, ran a construction business creatively titled K Constructions. He remained squarely in the eye line of cops in the years after the kidnapping charges, chiefly for an unsolved 2009 murder, an alleged murder that took place just months before the alleged kidnapping. No wonder Stephen was scared. For over a decade, this murder has gone unsolved and no perpetrator was arrested. Earlier this year, Tony K was charged with the murder, but who and what are the political connections to the people involved in this ordeal? Well, Andy Nahas also stayed in the construction industry, eventually becoming the secretary of a large property development group, Coronation Property, in 2016. Any guesses who Coronation Property hired as their executive director earlier this year? Yeah, it's John Barilaro. Again. Yes, bruz. Announcing that he was working for Coronation, the company that Andy Nahas, the guy police unsuccessfully alleged was a kidnapper, worked for as well, Barilaro grandly proclaimed, "It's rare in life to come across an opportunity where the vision excites you and the passion of the individuals behind the name is so infectious that it captures you. Let me introduce to you #Coronation Property. My next chapter begins." He just has an eloquent way with words. But what a short chapter that was. Not as short as the one that followed it. John goes to New York from February this year right up until he got his trade commissioner role. Well, right up until he thought he got the trade commissioner role. John Barilaro worked as the executive director of Coronation Property, the property development company run by the Nahas family. And the secretary at the time was our friend and co-star of the story that you just heard, Andy Nahas. Coronation Property is the company that grew from the ashes of Nahas Constructions, the company that paid for Andy's legal costs. Both have been directed by Andy's brother Joe Nahas, or Yusuf Nahas as he sometimes goes by. Nahas Constructions' connections to this alleged kidnapping are at the very least bizarre. Police claim that the phone calls that took place when Stephen was kidnapped between him and his mother, where he demanded $50,000 for Tony K, in exchange for not being chopped up and thrown in the river, those calls were made on a phone that was subscribed to a provider by Nahas Constructions. By the way, they also alleged that one of the co-accused was employed by Nahas Constructions. I believe at some point the police alleged that Tony K was also employed by Nahas Constructions, but statutory declarations submitted by Joe and Fadi Nahas of Nahas Constructions vigorously disputed that claim. Alleged bikie connections aside, the political and business connections of Nahas Constructions from around the time are compelling. Nahas Constructions donated $13,950 to the Liberal Party in 2010, leading up to the 2011 election. They also used to be the goalpost sponsor of the Parramatta Eels. In fact, it had been previously reported by the Sydney Morning Herald that director Joe Nahas in 2010 had facilitated an introduction between a Parramatta power broker and a member of the Obeid family. Coincidentally, in 2016, Tony Kay made headlines after Parramatta Eels footballer Corey Norman and Junior Palo and Penrith Panthers James Sagiaro were photographed dining with him and members of the alleged Alameddine crime family at Golden Century Restaurant. Later in the night, Norman was caught in possession of drugs at Star Casino. The footballers were issued warnings by police for consorting with criminals. But back to what happened to Nahas Constructions. Well, as the Obeids well and truly found out, all good things must come to an end. And in 2012, Nahas Constructions went bust, leaving a trail of subcontractors chasing up unpaid debts. In fact, one subcontractor, Bluestone, blamed Nahas Constructions' alleged failure to pay them for their work for their demise. Things obviously got pretty desperate, as it was reported in 2013 that Standover man and Mick Gatto associate Alex Talul was employed by desperate contractors to chase debts from Nahas Constructions. It wasn't looking good for the Nahas family business. Kate McClymont reported in October 2012, Joe Nahas, who also goes by Yusuf Nahas, listed himself as unemployed on his personal insolvency agreement. This allows a debtor to come to an agreement with creditors to settle debts without becoming bankrupt. Yet only about a year later, as reported by McClymont, in March 2014, he became a director of Coronation, and 2 months later, Nahas finalised his obligations to creditors, according to corporate records. Like a phoenix from the ashes, Coronation Property rose. Coronation Property is a venture between the Nahas family and corporate lawyer and businessman John Landerer, who along with Joe Nahas became a director. Like the Nahases, John Landerer is also a Liberal Party donor, donating tens of thousands of dollars to the party over the years, including to the New South Wales fundraising body, the Millennium Forum. You know, the one that got busted accepting mafia donations and set up politicians with developers. With Joe and John as directors, the same Andy Nahas, who was charged with kidnapping, became a secretary of Coronation in 2016. Friendly Geordies has previously revealed that this is the same year in which Andy was also charged with assaulting a security guard. For this charge, the other director of Coronation Property, an esteemed lawyer John Landerer, provided a character reference for Nahas. How sweet. Wherein he claims, "I have no hesitation in advising my opinion that the offence is a one-off incident not likely to ever be repeated based on my belief that Mr. Nahas is a man of honesty and integrity and proud of his family's high standing in the community." High standing in the community. Andy was convicted of that assault, by the way. Don't worry, he was only fined $800. Not much for a man whose family owned $20 million houses. How far he's come since that alleged kidnapping. Plus, he's now in good company with ex-executive director John Barilaro's beef with a different type of working man. Coronation really do seem to be his people. I'm saying it now, he shouldn't have quit. They too understand the troubles of dealing with impertinent media. Take a look at these media clips from a few years back.
Some of Sydney's biggest developments, millions of dollars, an allegedly stolen Lamborghini, an attempted home invasion and assault. They're the ingredients of a family war being played out right now in a Sydney court between three wealthy brothers.
The Nahas family is behind some of our biggest developments, from the paper mill in Liverpool to a luxury tower in Parramatta, not to mention lavish weddings like this. Shutting down the City West link in the months before Salim Mahaja's nuptials made headlines. But the cracks started to appear earlier this year in the form of a family feud over millions of dollars. Fadi Nahas on one side claiming the dispute sparked this: CCTV of two unidentified men trying to kick down his front and back doors as his wife and child cowered inside. The cause of the incident, however, remains unknown.
Once we're warriors, three of us, we're great at what we've done, and just fallen apart, deteriorated over money.
Fadi, who claims he wasn't paid his cut of the Coronation Property Company, was accused in court of intimidating the managing director, his brother Joseph, telling him, "You are going to pay me my money and it's going to be nothing under $5 million. The court heard he also punched his brother in the face and took his Lamborghini and Range Rover. Fadi doesn't deny those allegations, but says the luxury cars were in lieu of the money he was owed.
My client thought he was entitled to a payout and he hadn't got that, so that will be part of his defence.
The feud far from over. The hearing will resume later this year. Kelly Fedor, 9 News.
Together, they built some of Western Sydney's biggest luxury developments. But tonight, the Nahas family is torn apart. A dispute between brothers landing one in court on criminal charges.
It's a decision which brought Fadi Nahas relief, but not much more.
I'm very disappointed it came to this. I don't see it as a win for anyone. If anything, it's been a humiliation.
Allegations he intimidated his elder brother and stole luxury vehicles withdrawn after Joseph Nahas decided he did not want to give evidence. The elder Nahas is the managing director of the Coronation Group, behind developments which include the paper mill in Liverpool and a luxury tower in Parramatta. It's that company which Fadi Nahas says they fell out over, admitting he took things too far in March when he confronted Joseph Nahas, saying, "You don't want to meet up, you dog," before he slapped and punched him. The magistrate accepted the assault came during the ongoing dispute between the brothers. She said this was out of character for a man who did not have a violent record. And so she handed Nahas a $1,500 fine.
Families and money are always a problem. Most people would agree with that, but being able to resolve it is a great outcome.
And Fadi Nahas says he'll still pursue the money he claims he's owed.
So in due course, they will be resolved.
Family trouble. Barilara sure can empathise. These videos appear to be completely scrubbed from the net and were only available from databases, despite only being a few years old. I can't really offer much more information on them, but I wonder who sent those mysterious men to Fadi Nahas's house. Anyway, remember how Tony K, Andy Nahas's co-accused, was caught hanging out with people who police alleged members of the Alameddine crime family? Well, Friendly Geordies has something exclusive and cool to reveal. Here's a picture of the ex-Deputy Premier's ex-business partner and I guess ex-boss, considering the Nahas family runs Coronation, ex-accused kidnapper Andy Nahas hanging out with the Alameddines. There's Andy, all 5 feet of him. See that guy? That's Masood Zakaria, an alleged Alameddine heavyweight and now on the run as one of the most wanted men in Australia, wanted over his alleged involvement in a failed attempt to kill Ibrahim Hamzy. A company he directs, Zach Services, is also a shareholder in labour hire business Alpha Omega Enterprises. We asked if Coronation or MM Builders have done any business with Alpha Omega Enterprises. They didn't answer directly. This guy over here, that's Joseph Vokai, alleged leader of the KVT Islander gang that is aligned with the Alameddines. He's currently imprisoned, refused bail over the same failed plot to kill Ibrahim Hamzy. And him? That's John Baysari, another Alameddine associate. Earlier this year, he handed himself into police after being wanted alongside Masood and Joseph. He was charged with 9 offences, which included the usual drug possession and supply, dealing with proceeds of crime and participating in a criminal group. It's just insane. In just December last year, all 3 of these men were wanted by the cops, and here they are posing for pictures with the Deputy Premier's business partner. And this guy? That's Ali Yunus, the cousin of the alleged head of the snake, Rafat Alameddine. You might know him better as a huncho.
Stab you in your blood vessel, these cars ain't rentals, these bras ain't special. This money high level, we gon' put you in your kennel, nah bitch, no wrestle, all my homies coming several. Wrap you up like a pretzel.
What the hell is that?
If this picture wasn't good enough, here are some close-ups of a huncho with our guy, Andy Nahas. Coronation Property has some associations with really questionable characters. And the Alameddines too. We think this Trade Commissioner scandal is outrageous, but these are the people that the ex-Deputy Premier of New South Wales went to work for immediately after leaving office, and the Parliamentary Ethics Advisor approved. Nobody batted an eye. Apparently the second highest office holder in the state, parachuting from that job